All right, guys, welcome back. I'm Ernie Flores, and this is Lazy Stoner Active Stoner. Become the successful person you always wanted to be while keeping it lit. And today's topic is weed really the problem? Is weed really the problem? We'll find out right now. So, talking about priorities and talking about the subcultures we were talking about in the previous episode, which are the LS, the lazy stoner, or the AS, the active stoner, which is something that we are going to be talking about a lot during this segment. So, talking about priorities, usually the lazy stoners or the LS, they, well, they have mixed priorities. And in most cases, this triggers a lot of things, actually. It could trigger depression, it could trigger anxiety, even like suicidal thoughts. And this is something that a lot of people link the use of weed with those things, but in reality, it's just what happens when you make bad choices. In some cases, weed does affect, but I mean it has to do more with a neurological thing, which we will be discussing in future episodes with professionals. Going back to the is weed really the problem thing, though. A lot of people tend to think that just because they smoke weed, they don't deserve certain things. Just because they smoke weed and they've been marginalized by certain groups of their community or society, they believe that they are less of a person, and that's not true. That's really far from the truth, actually. In some other cases, the factor here is that they don't really know what they want. In some other cases, it's that they do know what they want, but they don't know how to accomplish it, or they're stuck in a mental lagoon there, not being able to stay motivated, and not being able to want to do anything else but smoke marijuana. That makes them content, but it doesn't really make you happy. And the reason I say this is because I'm pretty sure that we've all been there as stoners in some point. We have to remember that marijuana, more than anything, is a stabilizer. What's a stabilizer? So a stabilizer is whatever gives you ease in that moment. A lot of people used to smoke tobacco when a lot of European settlers came adopted this habit from the Native Americans, right? They smoked tobacco in pipes. So if you think about it, the smoke, just not just marijuana smoke, but the tobacco smoke is something. It's a gas, first of all, right? So it's something that our lungs, our whole system, our mouth, our nose, our nasal cavities, they can fidget with. And that in some cases decreases anxiety or any symptom of intranquility you may think, right? On the other hand, the tobacco smoke, when it passes by the brain, it generates endorphins, right? So when it's not necessarily that it's good for you, but that's how the brain translates it. That smoke versus the smoke from marijuana, that it actually triggers certain receptors in our brain called endocannabinoid receptors, which we will also hopefully later talk about in future episodes with professionals to further understand that topic better. So that habit of smoking started around 2 centuries ago. And now in our time, it's very habitual to smoke marijuana. And it doesn't change the fact that both tobacco, alcohol, marijuana, and other things are stabilizers for most people. I think that at the end of the day, a lot of people, the majority, ideally, wants to work, be able to work. Just not just work at a job, but just be productive and feeling content with themselves, happy. At the end of the day. So speaking of happiness, a lot of people ask this question: what's everything a person needs to become really happy? And the question to that, I mean, no one really knows the answer to that. That's something that you've probably tripped while smoking every now and then. It's an abstract answer, Some say it's money, some say it's love, some say it's a religion of your choice, whichever it is, or having a kid. It's really different to everyone, but I mean, in the end of the day, that's a common factor for all of us. We all want to feel happy. So I believe that, I mean, if you smoke marijuana and you believe that the plant itself is what's making you miserable, it's what's making you broke, it's what making you at the end of the day not like feel like excluded from whatever you actually do deserve, then you're not using it properly. But I mean, I do not believe the weed is really the problem. There is scientific and medical proof that this plant actually it's an enhancement to our body. And there's proof that we can actually use this for our best benefit. So I believe that whoever thinks that, honestly, it is just not using it appropriately, or in some cases, like with any other medication, it could be overused, or it could just not be used properly in some cases. But I don't personally believe the habit of smoking marijuana, however much you do it throughout the day, is actually a bad habit. It's what do you do with it mainly. There's a pattern that mainly people that smoke and don't smoke even have used during the last 100 years, and we'll be discussing those patterns throughout this podcast and these blogs actually, which is to become successful even though you smoke marijuana. Fortunately, I mean, over time has passed by, we have been able to do this more openly, without being judged, or without being criminalized, which is, I believe, the most important thing, because liberty is the most important thing a citizen could have. So therefore, the liberty to do whichever you want, whenever you want, as long as it's not stepping under someone else's liberty, which is one of the ideals of the enlightened and active stoner. So one of my buddies, one of my best friends actually, from Arizona, he grew up in a conservative household. His parents always always by the book. And in no way except that he smokes marijuana. Sometimes when he used to live with them, they caught him with a bong, and they always wanted to send him to rehab every time they caught him. But he always managed to talk to them, and at the end of the day, they didn't want their son to struggle through that, because rehab is just not the solution, But I mean, many people go for that because they believe it's the best route for the people they love. In some cases, for some drugs, it is absolutely the only alternative. But speaking of weed, it's just a matter of structure, I believe. It's just a matter of getting your shit together. So my buddy Edward from Arizona, he was constantly whining about not having enough money. He said that before he smoked pot, he used to save 2 checks when they pay him bi-weekly. Like he would cash 2 checks at the same time, once per month, because he didn't spend a lot of money on that. And the truth, I mean, honestly, he was just trying to find someone to blame it on, or something to blame it on, which is the case with the weed, He did spend more money than he used before because, well, before he didn't smoke marijuana. But now, I mean, he not only did that, but I mean, you have to understand that. I mean, when you get high, sometimes you want to do a lot of things. You want to eat a lot of things. You want to go a lot of places, or you want to buy certain things. In some cases, and more when you're starting to smoke. So it's really important to not let yourself go with all of those feelings, because sometimes it is going to take you, and this is something that we will be also discussing. So he always said that the problem was weed, but was weed really the problem? Honestly, I don't think so. And in most cases, it's just a lack of priorities, is having mixed priorities, not being motivated to stay on track, to stay on center, to complete your projects. Because we all have goals, we all have dreams, and it is very important that one, especially if you smoke, because when you're high, you're more connected to your inner self, and you understand what you want, you know what you want. So it's really important that stoners actually thrive to be successful. That way we can make our community and our society better. So, I mean, weed isn't really the problem. To anyone out there thinking that we will prove how weed isn't the problem, just how all those active stoners have been successfully accomplishing it throughout these years. And as I always say, the gift of legalization isn't only scientific research or economic growth, but the opportunity to collectively understand the best ways to make the plant work for your best benefit and, most important, for your own value. And this is what this podcast is all about.